We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for coming tonight. We will start with Article 4. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $1,776,742 for general government. This article does not include appropriations contained in special or individual articles addressed separately. Any comments on everybody has a copy of this?
Enjoy vote.
Do I need to be elevated?
We're going to elevate it. All right.
Animal pest control, proposed $2,500, assessing $36,200, building inspection $53,950, conservation commission $4,650, direct assistance $9,600, election registration and vital statistics $11,650, executive $177,070, financial administration $170,329, general government buildings $178,200, general government equipment $13,600, $133,451. Oh, let's get through it and then we get to that's okay. Totes $1, legal $28,800, library $106,607, Madison TV $47,500, notes due $121,992, patriotic purposes $8,200, personnel administration $581,542, planning board $9,350, rec program $6,000, street lighting $3,900, zoning board $11,650 for a total of $1,776,742. Questions, discussion? Yes.
Yeah, could you just
Wait, if you're going to speak, the mic, you have to be right up on it.
Good evening. Could you just explain the increase in insurance? Thank you.
I can,
Yeah, go ahead.
well, we have, there's in that, if you look. On the summary drawdown, you'll see on page 9, the fourth section there is insurance. If you notice that it explains that we had an increase in both liability and workman's comp. It's all based on any claims that we make in the nature of insurance, I guess. Those are the numbers that MX gave us for us this year.
So the liability went up 16%, and that reflects claims the town?
Yeah, well, last year, the grader had to have that repaired. That was a good hit on our insurance because they covered that for us.
Comes under liability?
Yes. Liability is pretty much anything than workman's comp. It has to do with anything that happens to the building or to our trucks or that kind of thing. Sure.
Any other comments?
You guys have to make your recommendations.
Vote of the selectmen for recommendation. John?
I approve.
I approve.
Approved. 3-0-0. Advisory Budget Committee?
Budget Committee. Budget Committee, I'm just going to briefly introduce the Budget Committee. I'm Tino Fernandez, the chair, Ned Rogerson, Doug McAllister, Joe Dame, and alternate Joy Gray. Just to begin this, I'm going to entertain a motion to elevate Joy to a voting member because we're missing a member tonight.
So moved.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Joy is a voting member. Okay, so,
They haven't voted on it yet.
all right, can I have a motion to recommend Article 4?
Has the selectmen voted on it yet?
Yes, they have. 3-0.
And they're recommending Article 4 for $1,776,742.
Any discussion? No discussion, and we come to vote. All in favor of the recommendation? Raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay, that's 5-0. Selectmen?
5-0, thank you.
I'm having a really hard time hearing. I don't know.
I don't, is this microphone?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Totally into it. Point of order, if people would like to speak, I think they should go to the microphone so that we record it for the
Even second.
Are you okay with this, Linda? Can you hear us now?
That's a little better, thank you.
Yeah, okay, we'll try and talk into the microphone.
Article 5, to see if I will raise and appropriate the sum of $964,701 for Public Works, excuse me, Highway, $253,750, Parks and Recreation, $20,050, Solid Waste, $134,501, Administration, $556,400 for a subtotal of $964,701. DRA approved over expenditure.
In the 2023 budget, we don't need to do 2024.
Okay. And for a total of $964,701. Any discussion? Any questions? Seeing no questions or discussions, do I have a motion to?
I'll make a motion to recommend.
I recommend.
Sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3-0-0.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to recommend Article 5. Motion?
motion.
Second? Second. Any discussion? Yes, Joy.
There's been a lot of discussion about part-time DPW employees or employee. And I think it's from the process of how it happened, and we've said in meetings, it just doesn't make sense to have a part-time salaried DPW highway technician. And subsequent to the Budget Committee having said that, the position was elevated to a part-time salaried DPW director for $72,000 a year. So the process by which the hiring was done, the process by which I guess I'll call it a promotion was done, still doesn't make sense to me. So I'm not in favor of the Article 5.
Well, I would add some points that I think a number of us had questions or reservations about the process that's being used to hire important positions. And a number of us believe that these should be open, posted, and everyone should have an opportunity to bid on a job. And the jobs should be well-defined as to why they're part-time, full-time, what the requirements are, and this would be a more appropriate way of dealing with it. But overall, I think the amount of money that's in this and the issues that are covered by this budget, I would vote for it as it is right now. Any further discussion? All right, so we'll have a vote. All in favor of the recommendation?
Aye.
Okay, it's 4. Opposed? 1. 4 to 1.
Thank you. Article 6, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $668,645 for public safety. The ambulance contract, $133,044. Emergency Management Department, $9,701. Fire Rescue, $165,900. Police, $360,000 for a total of $668,645.
Maureen Downs.
You have to get, Noreen, I'm sorry, from the ladies, you have to come, no, you have to get right to the mic from closer.
Okay, is that better?
Okay.
Maureen Downs. On the ambulance, the comment says that the 5-year contract is to increase 3% each year. So I'm wondering if there's an explanation as to why it increased 23.9% this year.
Chief's going to answer that.
The contract is, it's 6 towns are involved with us. The gross annual amount increased 3.5% a year. However, annually, based on responses to particular towns, the allocation changes, and it fluctuated. This year, I think we went from 11% of the total calls under the contract last year to 14% this year. So a combination of our portion of the 3.5% increase plus the percentage paid by Madison went up a little bit due to a higher volume of calls in Madison in the past year. And that's reviewed in September annually.
What is the emergency management department?
You want to explain?
You might be able to lift that up again, that way you don't break your back.
Well, there's no easy way to really answer that. The emergency management, the stuff that's in the budget has very little to do with any kind of personnel. The large increase that you're noticing is we got new generators, one for each DPW garage and one for the town hall last year, and it was a pretty, in a combination with the one at the fire station and this one here at this section of the school, we did a global servicing contract with one technician service. That's the largest part of this budget is generator management and maintenance. But emergency management is just, in the time of emergency, we haven't ever had one in Madison. If we had to open this facility for a shelter, it would have to be staffed. We have, cots and stuff like that. We would move in, et cetera, to help out. The most we've ever done is a mobile emergency management to manage, we haven't had any large-scale events affecting personnel, people.
So in the book, it says there's a emergency management director. Is that what this is?
No, the director governs or takes care of all the things that are needed through emergency management. So, Chief.
Now, I understand that Madison had to do a renewed emergency management plan. And we don't normally have to pay for that. I understand we paid the state $2,500 to do that.
We do. The chief will explain it to you, but yes, we do have to pay, but it's not to the state.
Every 5 years, we've paid And it's, the first one is the hazard mitigation plan. That's the one we just completed in 2022. And we're still waiting for the final approval of it. There's been a log jam at FEMA on that one. And we're just started the 5-year update on the emergency operations plan. 2 separate and distinct documents, but we have to have both in place in order to qualify for the reimbursement funding and any federal grant funding that we may request to help us pay for emergencies.
I guess my question is it customary that we pay the state to update that plan?
Does it go to the state or does it go to the feds? Right?
I'm not sure where it's coming from that we paid the state. We paid a contractor to help write the plan or help us with the update, because there's a lot of very technical information that has to be cross-checked with state and federal regulations. But we did pay a provider to, and we had to, through staff time, et cetera, we had a matching amount of time had to be spent. I mean, the Board of Selectmen was represented at all those meetings, myself, someone from the DPW, Linda from the administration. We had to commit a bunch of time to offset our, they called it a match. And then grant funding picked up a lot of it, and I think we had to pay $2,000 out of pocket.
On the fire department, I would like to know who the fire warden is. And we have repair equipment, repair supplies, and
I guess I don't understand. What's the question?
who is the fire warden?
That's me.
So you're reimbursed $3,500 to be fire warden in addition to $25,000 for chief stipend?
It's 2 totally different jobs.
Yeah.
They're 2 very separate jobs.
Okay, I just didn't know if you were also the fire warden. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on Article 6? Seeing no more questions or comments, do I have a,
I will make a motion to recommend.
I recommend. Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
3-0-0.
Okay, I will entertain a motion from this committee to recommend Article 6.
So moved.
Second?
Second. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, we'll take a vote. All in favor of the recommendation, raise your hand. It's 5-1, 5-0, sorry.
Thank you.
Article 7, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $250,000 for paving and road improvements of town roads, including but not limited to Mooney Hill Road, Albert Hill Road, and East Madison Road. This will be a non-lapsing appropriation per RSA 32:7, Roman numeral 6, and will not lapse until the funds have been exhausted with the completion of the project or by December 31st, 2029, whichever is sooner. And there's an addendum, correct? There is an explanation. If you have any questions, there's an extra sheet that explains Article 7 and what, oh, I can read it to you. So part of that will be to reclaim, fine grade, and compact with water approximately 1 mile of Mooney Hill Road, then repave same with 3/4-inch winter binder for $200,000, replace 5 culverts on Mooney Hill Road for $9,000, repave sections of washed-out pavement from last summer's storms on Howard Hill Road and East Madison Road for $18,600, shoulder all the above roads for $12,000, and crushing gravel for above roads at $11,000. Any questions or comments? Seeing no questions or comments, I call for a motion.
I have a question.
Sure.
Has our DPW ever our director ever put together an explanation like this before? Not that I've seen in the past.
I don't know.
I just wanted to make a point that part-time DPW director put this together. The one that was in question before is putting together things that we've never seen in the past. Just pointing out his work since his position is in question. That's all.
Calling for a motion for Article 7.
Make a motion to recommend.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
300.
Just a comment to Selectman Price is that the position is not in question. The process of coming up with the position was the question. So, do I have a recommendation? Do I have a motion to recommend Article 7?
Go for it, Joe.
Yep, one. Second?
Yes, second.
Okay, any discussion? All right, seeing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's 5-0.
Thank you.
Article 8, to see if the town will vote to authorize the selectmen to enter into a 5-year lease purchase agreement for the purchase of leasing a new solid waste truck to raise the appropriate sum of $50,000 for the purpose of reducing the amount of the lease purchase agreement, and authorize for that purpose the withdrawal of said amount from the previously established Transfer Station Capital Improvement Expendable Trust Fund. The cost of the new truck is $225,000, which will be reduced by the payment from the Expendable Trust Fund and further reduced by $40,000 from the trade-in of the solid waste truck currently owned by the town, leaving the amount of the lease purchase agreement at $135,000. No additional amount will be paid during the current fiscal year. The lease purchase agreement contains an escape clause. Any questions or comments? Seeing no questions or comments, call for a motion.
Make a motion to recommend.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
300.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to recommend Article 8.
So
So,
moved.
Joe Dan, and second,
Sure.
McAllister. And any discussion?
Just briefly, in January, I put together a cost analysis for the new truck. And I did a market survey, how much the trucks cost, that type of thing. The red Kenworth truck you see around town is wearing out. The numbers make sense, and actually, the DPW did it, I gotta give them a kudo here, they did a great job. They found a brand-new 2023 truck that costs less than the market pricing. And they were also getting $40,000 as a trade-in for the worn-out red truck, further reducing the operating cost. Compared to the bids we received from North Conway Incinerator in 2021, and the cost for the town to run the truck, to bring the waste to both Maine and up to the landfill is at least $150 cheaper a load than contracting out. So the purchase of this truck makes sense from a financial perspective.
I got a comment, just to follow up.
Go ahead.
As most of you probably know, I do work part-time at the transfer station. We spend a lot of time there. Last year, the transfer station took in fees and revenue of $68,537. Previous year was $57,898. And we also recycled an amount of another $6,262. That is revenue. We expect to continue as revenue, and we hope to get a little more recycling done. The transfer station's budget is extremely low, and we expect to keep it that way. Thank you.
Any further discussion on Article 8?
Just a question here. How many trips a week does this truck make at WW?
Dave, do you want to give them just an average, what you do? It's a far cry from winter to summer, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, sure.
Far cry.
Dave Swift,
I'm the primary operator of the roll-off that goes up to Mount Carberry and Berlin. This time of year, we've been running, I would have, if I put it an average on, it'd be 2 trips a week. In the summertime, we have full transfer station every week.
Yeah.
So we're looking at 4 to 5 runs
A day.
every week. So I can get 2 runs a day up to Berlin and 2 runs, well, I don't have to do 2 runs a day, to Eco Maine with our recyclables. As you probably know, we've put a compactor in the cardboard and the plastics, so we've reduced the trip. We're not making a trip for plastics and a trip for cardboard to Eco Maine. It's been, what, about 1 trip a month.
Yeah.
In the summertime, it's 1 trip every 3 weeks. So we've cut that down quite a bit. So,
Okay, thank you. So I've got just a comment off the top of my head. Here's a truck that's not being used that often in the winter because we got fewer trips. Could we put a plow on that truck and get the town another plow truck?
no.
No, I didn't.
The truck's too long for that.
Okay.
Its length, and with our roads around here, it wouldn't work. But I will say, we do occasionally use it to haul culverts. It's a great bed for putting 6 culverts on it, strap them down. We've hauled Jersey barriers on it. So we do have a little bit of use for it in the DPW. Yeah.
Okay, good, thanks.
Okay, no further discussion that I see. I'll come to vote on it. This is Article 8. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it's 5 votes for Article 8.
Moving on to Article 9, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $40,000 to repair Modoc Hill Road. Any comments or questions?
I thought it was gonna cost like 400,000.
Depending on how it was repaired, yes, it could be as much as 600,000 if we went with a bridge. But we're going with culverts and have been able to save the town $450,000 on
So
that
this
job.
is for the repair?
This will repair it. There will be new culvert, and the road will be repaired, the head wall will be repaired, and it will be back to the way it was prior to the incidents of the 2 rains that damaged it, correct?
So, just so I understand, it went from 400,000 to 40,000?
Yes, ma'am.
Good job.
Seeing no other questions or comments, I'll call for a motion.
Make a motion to recommend.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to recommend Article 9. Okay, Joe Dane, second.
Second.
Okay, Doug McAllister. Any discussion? I cross my fingers and hope $40,000 works, because that's a bargain. All right, all in favor? Aye. 5 votes for.
Article 10, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $7,000 for the purpose of purchasing a new ballot counting device. This special warrant article will be non-relapsing appropriation for RSA 32:7, Roman numeral 6, and will not lapse until the purchase of the new ballot counting device is complete or by December 31st, 2025, whichever is sooner.
I had already spoken to Mike about this, but I just wanted, before we spend this money, maybe somebody can make a call down to State House, because there's a lawsuit in Supreme Court. We have approximately 3.5 more months to answer a lawsuit to rid New Hampshire completely of ballot, any ballot counting machine, because they're illegal in New Hampshire, according to our New Hampshire Constitution. So if the lawsuit, if they side with the plaintiff, then we will no longer have any ballot machines in New Hampshire allowed. So
Okay,
it's
and
just, I just hate to throw $7,000 away and then get stuck with a machine we can't use. So it's 3.5
Well,
months.
it won't be used, if I'm correct, Mike's here, It won't be used until we actually need to purchase one, and since that hasn't been decided on, it will remain in the budget.
It's just food for thought.
Go ahead, Mike.
Not getting into the politics of what's going on. This warrant article is non-lapsing. We're raising and appropriating the money. The current machine that we have is no longer going to be supported in a very short time. The Secretary of State and the Ballot Law Commission have conditionally approved 2 options for replacement machines. When they finalize their process, the AccuVote machines that we all have across the state now are all going to go away and be replaced with one or the other. Of course, if some lawsuit comes to be that they're outlawed completely, then we won't spend the money. But the reason that it's written the way that it is in non-lapsing format, I'm not running out. I don't have my mind made up on until those conditions are met and the Secretary of State completely endorses. I recommend that we don't purchase anything, and that's why
It's written the way it is.
there's a lot of scare tactics going around from all sides, and I wanted to put the warrant article up because in the event that they stop supporting it, we have 4 elections this year. We've just done one. We got one coming in March, then September and November. If they were to force our hand, so to speak, and we'd have to get a new machine before one or the other, I wanted to have the money on hand to be able to do that. I'm in no rush to spend the $7,000.
Seeing no other questions or comments, I'll call for a motion for Article 10.
Motion to recommend.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll entertain a motion to recommend Article 10.
I'll do it.
Okay, Rogerson, second Dame. Any discussion? All in favor of recommending Article 10, please raise your hand. That's 5 votes.
Article 11, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $10,000 to be placed in the previously established Highway Heavy Equipment Expendable Trust Fund. Any questions or comments? Seeing no questions or comments, I'll call for a vote.
Motion to recommend.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll entertain a motion to recommend Article 11.
So moved.
McAllister, second Dame. Any discussion? All in favor? 5 votes for.
Article 12, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $15,000 to be placed in the previously established Transfer Station Capital Projects Expendable Trust Fund. Questions or comments?
Can you just say what totals are in those equipment expendable trust funds and add from 11 and 12?
Well, in 12, it's just over $83,000, and that is the capital reserve fund that we will be using a portion of for the previously mentioned DPW truck, or
Trash truck.
trash truck. As far as 12 goes.
And if you look on the very last page of that packet that you're holding, there's a summary sheet, and in that summary sheet, it has the balances on it.
No other questions or comments? I call for a motion.
Motion to recommend.
All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry, I'll second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Entertain a motion to recommend Article 12.
Recommend Article 12.
Rogerson, second Dame. Any discussion? No discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. It's 5 votes for.
Article 13, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $10,000 to be placed in the previously established Assessing Expendable Trust Fund.
Can you explain that a little more?
So, well, you can, sure.
Sure, so
Every project.
we have that expendable trust fund because every 5 years, the town has to go through a revow for our assessing amounts. We've been saving up for 5 years for this. It cost, in 2020, the last time we did it, it cost $105,000. So that we've been putting this away in anticipation of what we'll have to pay next year for the revaluation of the town.
No other questions or comments? Call for a motion.
Motion to recommend?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll entertain a motion to recommend Article 13.
So moved.
Second.
McAllister, and seconded by Rogerson. Any discussion on Article 13?
Yeah, question, if the last time we did this, it was over $100,000, and we're putting $10,000 a year in 5 years, that adds up to $50,000. Do we have the money in the expendable trust to cover the rest?
There's $105,000 in there now. I think
Okay,
we
good.
appropriated a little bit more the first year. Is that right?
A few years ago, we were putting $20,000 or $30,000 in that fund every year, and it was building faster than we really needed to, so the last couple of years, we've only put $10,000 in.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Okay, it's 5 votes for.
Article 14, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $10,000 to be placed in the previously established Historical Society Building Improvement Expendable Trust Fund. No questions or comments? Call for a motion.
Motion to recommend?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 I'll entertain a motion to recommend Article 14.
So moved.
It's McAllister, second Gray. Any discussion? No discussion? Vote, all in favor? 5 votes for.
Article 15, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $10,000 to be placed in the previously established Silver Lake Dam Improvement Expendable Trust Fund. No questions or comments? I call for a
Motion to recommend?
Second.
all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I'll entertain a motion to recommend Article 15. Gray and Dame. Any discussion?
Yes, question. Tell me if I'm wrong, that this $10,000 is only going to be used towards the plan to fix the dam and not to actually repair the dam itself. Am I correct?
We do not have a number for what the repair, but
Right.
the funds will be used in engineering studies. There's there's two. There's
Hydraulic and hydrology.
hydrology and hydraulic studies that need to be done to see what repairs need to make the dam safe. Or the dam is safe, but need to have the dam repaired.
And will this cover the repairs that need to be done to the bridge that goes over top of the dam?
I would say not.
And do we have any plan to do that?
Not until we figure out what we're doing with the dam.
Okay.
Any further questions or discussion? Then we come to vote. All in favor of Article 15, raise your hand. 5 votes for.
Article 16, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $5,000 to be added to the previous established capital reserve fund for land acquisition and conservation purposes. No questions or comments. I call for a motion to approve.
Motion to recommend?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll entertain a motion to recommend Article 16. Rogerson and Gray. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, we come to all in favor. 5 votes for.
Article 17, to see if the town will vote to establish a groundwater remediation expendable trust fund per RSA 31:19-A for the purpose of conducting a focused site investigation of groundwater conditions as directed by the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services, and any necessary remediation and appropriate the sum of $35,000 for this purpose, and further name the selectmen as agents to expend from this fund.
The phrase groundwater remediation, is that the same as well remediation? Is it drinking water or groundwater or both? And is there currently a dug well or drilled well in that site?
Go ahead.
The last question first is a drilled well. The issue came to us from DES, literally. We were directed, I think 2021 was the first time they asked us to do a water test. We did, submitted the results. 2022, they requested we do another test. We did, send them the results. At that time, they're detecting in the water the PFAS chemicals. And they've directed us to do this focused site investigation, and the selectmen have hired a engineering firm that specializes in these types of things. This amount of money is going to take care of the first 2 phases of their proposal. They're going to drill, I think it was 6 test wells around the property. At this time, nobody knows where anything is coming from. There was an issue on both sides of 113, and I don't know of what anybody else is doing. I just know what we have to do, and I'm learning as we go on this one. I've never done one before. We're going to find out what the cause of the contaminant is. Obviously, I think anybody that's paid attention to the news, especially in the state of New Hampshire, PFAS chemicals typically in rural New Hampshire, they focus in on the fire stations because of the old firefighting foams that were used in the, prior to the 1990s. And that's typically what the source that they focus on. So once they're going to come to town in April, drill these test wells, and from what I understand, it's 2-inch PVC that they'll drill a certain depth into the ground and then sample groundwater and see what those samples show. The good news is, from the 2 tests that we did do in 21 and 22, the levels in the test went down, but just not enough to make the DES happy. It wasn't going down fast enough. So, I mean, it's wide open right now. Try to find out where it came from and what we have to do to remediate it.
Are these wells around the fire station or what?
No, there's only one well that supplies water to all of the municipal complex, and it's located right behind the library, and it is a drilled well, but it's kind of, I don't know, I was a kid when it happened, but the well pump and everything is inside the fire station, and then there's a branch line that goes back to the library and then up to the hill to the town hall and the town highway garage. So all of the water to the town complex for, indoor plumbing comes from that well.
Is this part of an annual testing that we did even prior to 2021, or was there something that prompted it?
Yeah, there was some kind of a test result on the other side of 113. I don't want to use people's names, but because of their co-location being directly across the road from our town property, the state contacted us and asked us to do a test.
Thank you.
Does the DES or does the town notify abutters to the property about the well testing and why it's being done?
Yes, that's why the selectmen we put out an RFP, and we've hired a firm that's going to take care, a professional that's going to do all this stuff. professional environmental engineers, and they're out of Bedford, I believe. One of the metro cities outside of Manchester.
The bottom line on this is if the town doesn't do it, DES will come in and do it at a much higher cost. So it has to be done.
What's the cost versus what we're having it done for?
No, what Selectman Morrow was trying to say is if we didn't, I don't know. I don't ignore the state when they tell me to do something, but I guess we could have. If we didn't do that, they're going to come onto our property and do it for us, and then we don't know. The only cost we know right now is this $35,000 is going to get the test wells in the ground to determine the scope of, try to identify the scope of the problem, I guess, and then I don't know. It's going to be probably a little bit more money, but we just don't know until they tell us.
Just so people don't get frightened, we have test wells at the transfer station. I believe there are 5 of them at the transfer station. Cost us about $9,000 a year. It's a monitoring type of same kind of system they're going to put in here. Nothing's come of it. They just test water, and they find minor things, and they just want to know if those minor things go up or go down. So it may not be as bad as we think it is. We hope it isn't anyhow. Oh, and we've had the test wells at the transfer station since we built the transfer station. And in 10 years, the testing was supposed to stop. It has not. It just goes on and on and on. So, okay.
I'll make a motion to recommend.
We voted.
No, we did?
Yep.
Yeah, no, we didn't think we voted on that one. No. I've written them all down.
Oh, maybe I was ahead of the game. All right, I'll entertain a motion for recommendation for Article 17.
Motion to recommend.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I was ahead of the game, sorry.
You just knew what I was saying.
So entertain a motion to recommend Article 17. Gray and Rogerson. Any discussion? I think water safety and quality is one of the most important things we can do as a town, and so I think it is very important. Anyway, any further discussion? All in favor? 5 votes for.
Article 18, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $9,896 to be placed in the PEG TV Expendable Trust Fund. This sum to come from the unassigned fund balance, which represents unused franchise fees from the 2023 operating budget. Go ahead. I've always, okay. The PEG TV, I don't know how it happens.
Officially, I have nothing to do with PEG TV, but this was my brainchild many years ago. Almost the entirety of everything these folks do for the meeting broadcast and everything like that doesn't cost any taxpayer dollars. It's a franchise fee paid by cable subscribers. And this article simply takes any amount remaining in their operating budget, which is funded by franchise fees, and tucks it into this fund, which they use to buy new cameras, microphones, computers to process the productions that they do. It's a no-brainer.
Does anyone know if the fees are going down because fewer and fewer people are subscribing to cable and going with streaming?
I have no idea.
I can add to that.
The fees are going up because less people are subscribing?
The cable bills keep going up, the spectrum bills, yeah.
But because there are people cutting cable, it sort of balances out. The fees go up, but the number of subscribers go down, and it is.
Okay, no other questions or discussion?
I'll call for a recommendation for, motion for recommendation.
Motion to recommend.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll entertain a motion to recommend Article 18.
So moved.
Doug and McAllister and Dame. Any discussion about Article 18? If not, we come to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's 5 votes for.
Moving on to Article 19, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $10,000 for the purpose of forest maintenance, the entire amount to come from the previously established forest maintenance account, and no amount to be raised by taxation. Any amount not expended during the year will be returned to the forest maintenance account. No questions or discussion? I call for a motion for recommendation.
Motion to recommend.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Entertain a motion to recommend Article 19, McAllister, and second, Gray. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, we'll come to a vote. All in favor? 5 votes for.
Article 20, to see if the town will vote pursuant to RSA 41:11-A to designate land known as MAP 116 Lot 023 as conservation land to be managed and regulated by the Conservation Commission according to RSA 36-A:4. And with no money attached, I believe it's just the select board. Any questions or comments? I will call for a motion for recommendation.
Motion to recommend.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Article 21, to see if the town will vote to adopt the amendments proposed by the Advisory Budget Committee to the town's budgeting ordinance adopted at the 1991 town meeting, amended at the May 11th, 2021 town meeting, which include changing the appointment of members to better align with New Hampshire RSA 669:61. Copies of the amended budgeting ordinance are on file with the town clerk, posted with the warrant, and available at town meeting. Again, no money assigned to that, so it would be just a selectmen's vote. Any? Right. Okay.
I just have a general question. I know it's been the practice of the selectmen not to recommend articles with no money involved.
The advisory committee doesn't.
No, I think the selectmen, I think in years past, if there wasn't $1 in the warrant article, you didn't recommend, you didn't comment.
I don't know, that may have been before.
That had been done before.
Mr. Ruda?
It had been done before, where we don't, because this is a budget meeting, and that doesn't affect the budget.
Okay.
But that was what was done in the past. That was the rationale behind it.
So I see here, the selectmen have recommended some, with no money, and then there's others with no recommendation. How's that work?
We haven't voted anything yet.
The ones that don't have a recommendation are by petition.
I see.
Sloan, did you have a?
I just didn't know if you could elaborate a little bit on what that means. What was the suggested amendments?
I can. It relates to when there's a vacancy and the chair appoints someone. It didn't specifically say that person was only appointed until the next town election, okay? And it sounded as if you were appointed for the full 3-year term, if there was a 3-year term. But so we wanted to be in compliance with standard regulations. So if you appoint someone, that position will be up again at the next town election.
Any other comment or question? Seeing no further comment or question, I'll call for a
Motion to recommend.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so that was 21. Yes.
So you're going to skip 23 and then 24.
What about 22?
Oh, sorry.
Article 22, to see if the town will vote to adopt the amended building permit ordinance as proposed by the Board of Selectmen, with the same to replace the building permit ordinance as adopted by the town meeting of 1980. Copies of the amended building permit ordinance are on file with the town clerk, posted with the warrant, and available at town meeting. No questions?
I'll make a motion to recommend.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, we will skip 23, moving on to Article 24, to see if the town will vote to establish a non-lapsing Veterans Monument Expendable Trust Fund per RSA 31:19A for the purpose of maintenance and future upgrades to the Veterans Monument, and to raise and appropriate the sum of $2,500 for this purpose, and further to name the selectmen as agents to expend from this fund upon recommendation of the Veterans Advisory Committee. And this is by petition.
I'd just like to point out for the record, this is a petition article, but a fund already exists.
Right.
And it's got, I think, like $89 left in it. But this, the purpose of this fund, it already exists, we already have one. We could just simply put money in the one that we have.
Correct. Any other discussion or questions? Are we going to vote on this petition?
It has money in it, so you
Call for a,
Could we amend this on the floor?
sure. No?
Because it's by petition,
We can amend it.
But on the floor,
the
at town
floor.
meeting, you
town,
can,
yeah.
yeah.
On the floor, okay.
I think this would be problematic to amend because you're taking a warrant article that creates a fund and changing it to contribute to another fund. The DRA is going to be cranky about that because the purpose was to create a fund. It's not so much the money issue. So I would be a little bit surprised if we could change this to simply contribute the $2,500 without DRA, to the existing fund without DRA squawking about it.
Okay.
Is the existing fund an expendable trust, or are we talking about a budget line item that's?
I don't believe it's an expendable.
Do you remember, Mike? No?
No.
You don't get it back.
You didn't need to get up for me, Mike.
Well, I'm not sure of the official classification. It was the fund that we used when we were fundraising to construct the monument and do all the big stuff that was done. I'm not sure the official classification. I just know that it exists. It's already on the books, and the trustees of the trust fund have control over it.
Mike, on average, what do we spend a year putting names on there? Do you have any idea?
No, not really, because it varies by the length of the name. We pay by the letter, and some years we don't have any. So it's not something that happens every year.
Okay.
Are the changes,
There are repairs to be made to the monument.
That's already been funded.
That's been done.
Right, that's being taken care of already. That's separate from this article.
The repair, the lettering,
That's correct. The repair that was discussed, and you encumbered the funds to satisfy that, and that'll be taken care of as soon as the weather allows them to do it.
do we have a price on those repairs, a cost for those repairs?
Yeah, it's in
$9,000?
It's a little bit between $9,000 and $10,000. I can't remember exactly.
And that money was added to the budget this year?
No, it was encumbered from unexpended 2023 operating budget.
Okay. So I will call for a motion for recommendation.
How do you want me to word that? Motion not to recommend?
Well, no, just make the motion and then we'll vote.
Motion to recommend?
Second.
All in favor? All opposed?
Aye.
So it's 0-3-0.
So I'll entertain a
What was the
motion,
vote?
0 to 3.
Mhm.
Is that correct? Yeah.
Correct.
I'll entertain a motion to recommend Article 24.
So moved.
McAllister, seconded by Gray. Any discussion?
I'm a veteran, and I know we're going to take care of the monument. It's very small money that come, except for this one time when we have an error. Usually it's pretty small money that usually the town takes care of. So, it's like we're setting something up, that why do we really need it? If it was large money on a regular basis, I'd say it differently.
Yeah.
My name's on the monument.
Right. I think the town has taken care of the monument and and would probably continue to do it without encumbering a new trust fund, but that would be my thought. Any other discussion?
If we only have $89 in the current account, do we need to be raising some kind of money now?
If there were an article, it could be put into that account.
We also have money in the patriotic purposes line to cover some of those fees if necessary.
Yeah, we can't do anything different with the funds, but typically, we've always done what needed to be done out of that patriotic purposes line. And I think there might have been one or two occasions where we may have overspent that patriotic purposes line by $100 or so, but it nowhere near exceeds the operating budget. It can be handled within the operating budget.
Any further discussion? Okay, we come to vote. All in favor of recommending Article 24, raise your hand. No votes, all opposed? 4
Abstain.
opposed? Yeah, 4 abstained, and Gray abstains. Could you tell us why you abstained?
Yes, I guess I just don't have a full understanding of the different accounts and where the money is, so I just didn't want to.
Okay. So 4, none to recommend, 4 against, and 1 abstention.
Skipping to Article 29, which is a petition warrant article to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $5,500 to support Madison Home Delivery, Meals on Wheels, congregate meals, transportation, and program services provided by the Gibson Center for Senior Services Incorporated. Any questions or comments?
Make a motion to recommend.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
I'll entertain a motion to recommend Article 29. Gray, second Dame. Any discussion? All in favor? 5 votes for.
Article 30, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $5,421 in support of Starting Point, providing advocacy and support to victims of domestic and sexual violence and their children.
Make a motion to recommend.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll entertain a motion to recommend Article 30.
So moved.
McAllister, second Dame. Any discussion? We'll take a vote. All in favor? 5 votes for.
Article 31 by petition to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $5,771 for the operation of Tri-County Community Action Program Incorporated, service programs in Madison, transportation, energy assistance, weatherization, guardianship, Head Start, homeless intervention and prevention, disaster relief, and the Tamworth Dental Center.
Make a motion to recommend.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I'll entertain a motion to recommend Article 31. That's Gray first, second Rogerson. Any discussion? No discussion. I'll come to a vote. All in favor? Aye. It's 5 votes for.
Article 32, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $3,100 for the Family Resource Center at Children Unlimited Incorporated to strengthen families by promoting health, well-being, self-sufficiency, and positive parenting through support and education.
Make a motion to recommend.
Second?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I'll entertain a motion to recommend Article 32.
So moved.
Rogerson, second Gray. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, we'll vote. All in favor? 5 votes for.
Article 33, to see if the town of Madison will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $6,512 for the support of the White Mountain Community Health Center to help meet the healthcare needs of the uninsured and underinsured residents of the town of Madison.
Make a motion to recommend.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll entertain a motion to recommend Article 33. McAllister and Dane, second. Any discussion?
No.
Oh, yep, go ahead.
Another comment.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. 5 votes for.
What did I do?
Okay. I have a request.
Sure.
That the board take and make a recommendation with regard to Article 28, petition article. I believe perhaps the only one here, Mr. Ruda, who's ever been here at 10:30 at night with a dozen people trying to count ballots accurately, knowing that costs may be incurred by having a significant number of volunteers that would be necessary to hand count everything, and the guaranteed inaccuracies that occur after a long night. So I would request that the selectmen do make a recommendation. Obviously, I hope it's in the negative.
Well, just thought, Cordell did specifically say that the selectmen were not to make sorry, this, our town attorney had specifically told me just the other day that the selectmen did not make recommendations on the petition articles unless they have money involved.
And I believe this will cause the incurrence of cost, and I don't believe that the selectmen have no obligation to make a recommendation, but I believe you have the authority to make a recommendation. So I would interpret maybe a little bit differently from how he said it. So I don't believe this has to do with the administration of the town, and that falls under budgeting the responsibilities of the selectmen. So I don't believe it, he may have said that he discourages it or it's not something we're required to do, but I do believe it's permissible.
Mike, did you want to say something? No. I saw you moving forward, so I didn't want to cut you off.
I'm certainly not here to argue with George, and I'm not going to, but the same logic would apply to Article 23, 25, 26. At the very least, there's no dollar figure in those petitions, but if they were to be adopted, there is a cost involved that would have to be absorbed in the operating budget.
I mean, did he say he discouraged it, or did he say flat out don't do it? Is my question, because, I mean, we have to adhere to the advice of our town council. If we don't trust him, then we shouldn't have him as our attorney.
Sure. I wouldn't say if he said there's something that says you can't do it, but I would discourage is probably a better word.
I don't see what the harm is.
So,
Whether we take a stand here or take a stand at town meeting, it would all be the same.
Right.
Town town meeting would be too late.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a ballot.
No, and you're right, I mean, you could speak up at that point. That's fine. I guess my point, and Mike makes it as well, there's no obligation for you to do anything. So I was simply making a request that you convey that message to people when they arrive and when they look at their phone.
Well, let me make a little anecdote on how we got that machine. Way back, before the machines, had a gentleman in town.
There were machines.
Yeah, and we didn't have one. And we put a ballot up to buy a machine, and he got up and he spoke against it very, very well, and we didn't get our machine. So then I invited him to come to the next election to be one of the people who record. And about halfway through that recording session, which was around 9:30 at night, he got up and said, you know, this is really, I can't tell the word, but he said, this is pretty damn archaic. The next town meeting, he got up and supported the machine. I go.
I just have one question on Article 23, taking over the roads in Banfield Hollow. So taking over the roads will involve an expense.
Correct.
Is that expense allocated in the budget for the year, for the coming year? How would you pay for maintaining those roads if the money wasn't pre-approved?
There was a, where they figured out, yeah, I don't have that report, but they did figure out what it costs roughly for each time they'll have to plow it and maintain it. And it is something that would fit within the budget. And if it turned out to be more than next year, we'd have to, of course, increase that. But the town without recommending or not recommending, the town in the past, the roads are up to the standards that the town requires. The builder met everything that was asked of him, and they've asked by this petition for the town to adopt the roads.
So it's not considered a money article, but money will be expended?
Correct.
If it's approved?
Correct.
So, I guess my question is, was Corbell's advice just not to put it on the warrant? Can we give a recommendation here tonight, or was he discouraging giving a recommendation at all, whether it be verbally or written?
I don't know about verbally, but I know I wasn't supposed to give you the option to have it on the warrant.
Okay.
Well, then we are officially finished. We are not going to discuss any of the others.
Cheryl Littlefield, and I am the chair of the Madison Library. And I have a comment on Article 25, which would limit, require us to eat at no earlier than 6. We have traditionally met at 3:30 in the afternoon. We have never had a complaint that somebody couldn't come to our meeting. And the majority of our members are older, don't like to drive at night. And I wondered if we could still meet at 3:30, even if this passes, or?
It's a petition article. It was not something that the board put forward. It's just going to have to see what the town's.
I'd personally like to see him at 9 o'clock in the morning, best part of my day.
Well, we are through all the warrant articles. I think the budget committee, you still have your minutes and all to.
Yeah, we have some minutes to approve, but we're basically done.
Thank you all for coming.
Linda, did you get the final?
All right, so we have minutes from
Less than
January
2,500.
16, 2024. If you have a chance to look at those and let us know if there are any.
Get no argument out of me. Yes.
Yeah, meeting's over.
Do you understand why I took the machine
Anyway, so that's it. I actually, the original draft that came through, I sent back to Linda because there were things missing. We added the opening statement and corrected a few minor things. So does anyone have any other corrections?
No, I saw the Linda sent.
Yeah, she revised.
Right. So if not, I accept, do I have a motion to accept these minutes? So moved to second? Second. That's Madison and McAllister, and all in favor? All right, so that's unanimous. And then we have another set of meetings. This was the meeting that occurred after the school committee, and we voted on Article 7 because the amount had been changed from $50,000 to $25,000 for lead remediation, and those were brief minutes, and if they're messed up, that's because I did them. But I mean, they were buffed up very nicely by Linda, but the substance is mine. Any corrections or things you'd like to do there? Okay, any motion to accept those minutes? So moved. Madison and McAllister, all in favor? Aye, that's unanimous as well. All right, I think we can adjourn this meeting.
I'm done.
So moved. All right, thank you, everyone.
I'm supposed to be done in March, give them March.